What up, IDS Mob? HarryWilmington here, and today we're going to be talking about the one way that a long-distance relationship can actually work out for the long haul. And we're also going to talk about what you should be doing with your significant other during the time you two are long distance. And I'm actually going to be reading a comment from a guy that commented on my ex had sex during our break video, because he actually had a similar situation happening, and then he had a question as it pertains to his current girlfriend about them being long distance, about whether or not it can work out, and if he should pick up from where he's at and move back home to be near her to try to make it work out. And I have some interesting stats and things that I think will be interesting insights into this situation. So, and real quick, guys, be sure to go to the website, introvertdatingsuccess.com. Right now, you can join the waitlist for my new Introverted Dating Success membership program website that's going to be coming out on November 1st. This is going to be like the Netflix of dating, whereby you can go there, and if you're having any particular situation you want to learn more about as it pertains to dating, you'll be able to click on an audio, video, or PDF to get that information. It's going to be jam-packed of like hundreds of hours of dating information, and you want to be a part of that. So be sure to sign up for the waitlist. When you do, you'll get a free PDF called the Girlfriend Roadmap Checklist, which is a 10-step program to be able to go from meeting a woman to getting her into a relationship in the span of 3 months. Again, introvertdatingsuccess.com, join the waitlist. All right, so let's get into this guy's comment. He says, I could really use your advice as I'm in a very similar situation in reference to his ex hooking up with others during the break. He says, I was with a girl who I dated. He said, I broke up with over the summer 1 year ago, and we were on and off the next year, never officially dating while I was getting with other people, and she was not. By the end of the year, we fell back in love even stronger than before. I decided to move for a job, and then we naturally decided to stop talking after she visited me across the country, which, by the way, is totally fine. I think that if you were going to chase your dreams and goals in another state, that it's not fair to try to hold on to a relationship when you two are going to be in completely different places. So don't feel bad about doing that at all. Anyway, he says 2 weeks into that break, she had sex with an old fling from high school. She described it as uncomfortable and that she was thinking of me and couldn't get into it. Okay, so first off, I want to say kudos to the ladies out there for learning how to not bruise a man's ego. Because realistically, guy, no woman is ever that you're trying to get back with is ever going to tell you, hey, so during a break, I hooked up with this other guy, and actually, even though I'm not lovey-dovey for that person anymore, the hookup itself felt really great. Like, it felt pretty darn good. Like, he was an old flame for a reason, because we did it quite frequently, and it still felt good. Like, no woman's going to tell you that because she wants to keep your ego intact. And again, kudos to her for doing that. But regardless, I don't know how this conversation came up. More often than not, what usually happens is the guy comes to her and says, hey, so by the way, now that we're back together, while we were broken up, did you hook up with anybody else? Which I think is a stupid question for guys to be asking, because it's not really any of your business unless, as I've said before, she has an STD, she's pregnant, or in this case, she hooked up with a previous flame. So I guess in this case, this is fine because she hooked up with somebody from a previous relationship. But again, you wouldn't have technically known that if you hadn't asked. But as long as she's not still trying to be friends with that person, then it's all good. But the point is, guy, you mentioned that you had been hooking up with other women. You cannot be mad at her for doing the same thing. And I also want to address that too, because some guy in one of my comments this week also left a thing saying that, well, you know, if a woman hooks up with somebody else and she has no more love for you and because of pair bonding, blah, 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 blah. And to that I say, if that was the case, every woman that lost her virginity would be with the guy that she lost her virginity to. And that does not happen. And I think men get into this thing of like, well, women can only have sex and if they're going to like pair bond and be with that person forever. And my belief, honestly, is that women can equally be hooking up just for fun, just like guys can. So if you guys break up, she might have a spell where it's like, oh my God, it's been like 6 months. I just need to get off real quick. And she finds a willing participant that's able to help her with that. And then she's able to come back down to a state of, I'm no longer horny. Okay, let me get back with this guy. Like, that can't happen. So guys, get over yourselves. Anyway, so then he says, so she told him that. And then he said, I proceeded to ask questions that were rooted in insecurity. And that certainly didn't help me. I've been struggling thinking about her with someone else. But this is a very reassuring video. Well, I'm glad, because like I said, our egos really do get us into places sometimes that because we think we're so great, were like, how could the woman that I used to date possibly hook up with somebody else? And it's interesting because like there's like 3 or now 4 billion women on the planet and 4 billion guys on the planet. So as much as she found you attractive, the reality is if you guys broke up, and especially if you're the one that broke it off, and she had no way of knowing if you guys were going to get back together, the reality is with all the other men that are out there, she can find at least one other guy that she'd be attracted to, or 2 or 3. Like there's like, just because she likes your particular type doesn't mean she can't like other types and want to get with them, okay? So guys need to get over themselves because again, especially if you broke it off, she had no way of telling you guys were going to get back together. So if she hooked up with somebody else, it's her way of saying like, as much as I like this guy, I don't want to pester him. I don't know where he's at. I don't know if because he broke it off, if he's going to want to get back to me. So I got to do what I got to do. I got to move on. And that might involve seeing another guy and hooking up. So for you to come back later and be like, hey, guess what? I came back. Oh, you did what while we were broken up? How is that fair? She had no idea you were going to come back. So again, continuing on. So now for the long distance part. He says, I have absolutely no right to feel any animosity. You don't, but it hurts. Understandable, but again, get over it. It's a humbling feeling because I know I put her through the same pain that I'm going through, and we were on a mutually agreed break. And again, and also, Guy, I don't think, because she had no idea you guys were going to get back together, she wasn't hooking up with other dudes to intentionally hurt you. She was doing it because she thought you moved on, and you were already hooking up with other people, and that, you know what, she needed to do the same thing. So if you decide to come back later and surprise her with, hey, I want to get back with you, well, you can't now blame her for the stuff she was doing when you guys weren't together because, again, there was no say that you guys were going to get back together. Anyway, continuing on, he says, I'm planning to move back home where she also lives and give this a real shot because we both see each other as endgame. I'm just unsure of how to navigate what to do in the months before I return. If we should be open or exclusively long distance, if we shouldn't talk at all, or if I'm making a mistake by moving. So those are all very good questions. And so, you know, my thoughts about long distance relationships for the longest time have been like, don't do them. They ultimately don't work out. I'm a little older now. And what I've seen over the years is I've had, you know, friends of mine from college and people in my family that maybe however they met, whether they met initially at home and then one moved away and they kept that connection together, whatever, and then eventually it worked out. You know, I've seen that happen quite a few times. But here's the only way that I've personally seen long distance relationships work is that if there's eventually an end date to the long distance part of the relationship. There's got to be a point where one of the two people agrees to move near the other person in order to give it a real shot. So couples that are like, oh, I've been in a long distance relationship for 3 or 4 or 5 years, that's not a relationship. Because realistically, in order to make it work, and this is just the standard in terms of like the overall generalities of this. There's not been that 1 or 2 couples out there who have been long distance for their entire lives and made it work. But I'm saying the probability of that is extremely low. So the only way I've seen it work out is if there's an end date whereby one of the other people says, hey, let's give this X amount of time, and then in the span of like 6 months to a year, either I'll move out to you or you move out to me. Otherwise, it can't work out. So it seems like you guys are already looking at being in the same place. Whether or not she should move to you or you should move to her is up for debate, but you do need to be living near each other in order to make it work. So that means that if there's an end date in mind, then that means that there are things you need to be doing during that time leading up to where you guys are together to make sure it's going to be more solidified, okay? And actually, I found an article. I found he asked the question, I said, you know, I have my own thoughts about this, but I really want to make sure that I'm able to give some really good information. And so I found this article on NBC News that was talking about moving for love. Here's some advice from people who've done it successfully, all right? And so the first thing they mentioned is, interestingly enough, this study, it's from Bellhops. And they actually do research that compiles existing data about moving along with their own research based on social media conversations about moving. And it's reported from them that 60% of the time when a person moves for their partner, the relationship works out. And I didn't know that statistic till today. So that's a good thing to know, that the odds are more than half in your favor that if you move to be near this person, it can work out. But that said, this goes to the other part of your question, which is the months leading up to that, what do you need to do? Well, for one, I definitely wouldn't cut communication. If anything, I would try to make it a point to try to like do a Skype or some kind of phone call at least once or twice a week, just to, because women bond through talking. And so the more not that you have to do it every single day, but if you're able to have a consistent conversation with her, just to ask about her day, catching up with her, what she's been up to, what she's thinking, whatever, then that's going to be able to make you guys still feel connected during the times that you can't see each other in person. Okay. But on top of that, you really got to start talking about, if you're going to be moving to the location where she's at, what's that setup look like? What does your money situation look like? What does your job situation look like? What does your living situation look like? I'm not a big proponent personally of people living together before they get married, because I think that can be very dangerous in terms of if you guys decide to get a house together and then you move there to be with her, and then 3 months into it, you guys break up. Now you got this big freaking place together, and you guys have legal paperwork that you guys have signed to be onto this house, and you guys can be fighting for who gets to stay in the house and who doesn't, or if you guys want to sell it. And that's something that I don't think any man or woman should set themselves up for. So I would say, for one, if you're going to be moving back to where she is, I would consider getting your own place. I'd see if you have the budget to do that. And if you do, great. Then whether it's near her in town or at least somewhere within the city, the point is you'll still be closer to her than you are now, but you won't be tied down to paperwork that might, be an issue later should you guys not work out, okay? Secondly, I honestly believe this, okay, is that as a guy, in part you move because of your job. So I don't know if your job is tied to what your actual dreams or goals are, or if that's what you're wanting to do. But I will say this. If you moved away for a job that is going to help you to build your career or build the goals that you're going after, then I would consider whether or not it's worth your time moving if it's going to interrupt that flow. Because let's say you're like, you know what, this job that I have, I want to move back because I love her, but you don't have that job's not transferable, or you're going to be giving up that job that could have helped you make a next step to a better part of your career where you'd be making more money or be in a better position. And instead just moving back home for love, but you have no setup for a job, you don't know what you're going to be doing there, you're not an entrepreneur, so you don't know what kind of things you could be doing to go to the next step, and you just end up stressing yourself out, well, that's not going to be good for the relationship either, because then you're going to be resenting her because you made the decision to move back, but you don't have a job or any kind of thing you're working on that you really love. Because outside of the day-to-day lovey-dovey, hey, it's so nice to see you stuff, there's real life going on. So again, what's your job look like? What's your work situation? What are you doing when you move back that's going to help you get further along in whatever career you have, whether it's like a work job career, whether it's an entrepreneurial career? If that is not set up, then, and the only place you can do it is where you're currently at now, then I would consider having a conversation with her about if she can move to you. Because I don't know what she does. You didn't mention what kind of job she has or what she's doing in terms of her career. But I've often seen, more often than not, there are typically more women that are willing to give up their jobs to go live near where the man is. Because more often than not, a lot of women, not all women, but a lot of women have the kind of career that is flexible enough to where it's not going to be such a dent in her life if she gives it up. Like women that are like secretaries, teachers, whatever, they can usually find those kind of jobs in other places, okay? And also beyond that, if you move to where she's at, are you going to be able to build a life outside of her? Now, fortunately for you, you're talking about the fact that you want to move back home, which means ideally outside of just her being there, you have friends there, you have family there, you have other situations going on there that are going to allow you to spend time away from her when she needs a break. So hopefully that's already set up. If it's not, recognize that when you go back home, if she's like, let's say like your family moved away and she's the only person there, well, this is where flame out and burnout can start to happen, because what you don't want to do is move back home and then focus all your attention on her. Like in theory, it sounds like a good idea. Hey, if I move back, I can really spend a lot of focused time with just her and really but realistically, especially if you're an introvert, you should understand that she's gonna need a break. Just like you should understand you're gonna need a break. And so if you don't have other people to go to hang out with, to tell stories with, and to do things with, then that can cause a lot of turmoil also, because I don't think people oftentimes recognize that spending every single waking minute, hour, day with your significant other can be quite tiring. All right. So I would say this is that ultimately you need to look at your situation and see if you really think that you and this woman have a shot. You need to see what sacrifices are going to be made by you should you decide to move back. You need to make sure that your financials are set up the right way. You need to have a conversation with her about what your potential future looks like. Like, hey, if I move back, like, are we going to give this like 6 months? Are we going to give this a year? Like, what's a realistic timeline for us to really see if we can give this a shot before we start making moves in terms of us having a real future together and living together and possibly getting married? Like, you don't have to go extremely deep on the whole marriage side of things yet, but definitely have conversations about what that looks like. In the meantime, prepare yourself. Talk to her at least once or twice a week, regularly on Skype or whatever, so you can get that FaceTime together. Make sure that your money situation is going to be right. Look up apartments in that area that are affordable, that you can see yourself moving into. Make sure your credit's good. Like, have all that stuff set up so that way you can make it work. But ultimately, yeah, long distance can only last for so long. So inevitably, one of the two of you are going to need to move to where the other one is. And so if you've decided that's going to be you, fantastic, but really look at that situation and assess it before you make those moves. Because I don't want you to get stuck moving back home, giving up your job and then it not work out, and then you have resentment and no job and no money coming in, and you've set yourself back to zero. Like, just make sure that your situation is set up the right way to best protect you, all right? So hopefully, Guy, this helps you out. Now, for the rest of you, if you have any questions you'd like me to answer on one of these shows, you can leave it down in the comments below or write to me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com. In the meantime, also, go to the website, introvertdatingsuccess.com, and join the waitlist for my Introvert Dating Success Membership Academy, which will be launching on November 1st. When you sign up for that, you'll get a free PDF called the Girlfriend Roadmap Checklist. And in addition, I'm going to start sending out once a week things whereby it'll basically give you like some previews of some of the things that are going to be inside of this program. Like I said, it's going to be a massive program that has hours upon hours of audios, videos, and PDFs that are all designed to help you learn how to do a variety of things in the dating game, whether it's texting, whether it's knowing how to pick up women at parties, whether it's knowing what kind of first dates to take them on, insights into the female psyche and learning how they actually think about dating. I have a bunch of different videos and audios that are where I actually interview women, and you can hear about their experience dating and what they're looking for and what they're not looking for. It's just, and I also have in the program a bunch of interviews with dating experts. You've seen a few interviews that I've done here on the show now, but I have so many more interviews like that that are going to be inside this program. And it's all designed to help you learn how to, modify your mindset a bit, how to have more confidence, how to be bold and daring, and knowing what moves to actually make when you're trying to attract women so that way you're able to keep them while still getting your precious alone time. So again, sign up for the waitlist today, all right? Thank you guys so much for watching the show. If you'd like some one-on-one coaching, go to the website and click on the coaching tab. And if you want to leave a monetary thank you, click on one of the links below. I have a Cash App link and I think like a PayPal or Venmo link, but any support is greatly appreciated. I'm Harry Wilmington, and I'll catch you guys on the next show. I'm out. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Introvert Dating Success Podcast. Visit us at introvertdatingsuccess.com for more great tips on attracting women using your natural introvert charm. Oh, yeah.